Hey, welcome back to the channel. Imagine if you had the power to always make the right decision at the right time. How different would your life be? Once upon a time, there was a wise and noble king who longed to be the greatest ruler his kingdom had ever seen. He believed that if he always knew the right moment to act, the right people to rely on, and the most important thing to do, he would never make a mistake. These three questions constantly occupied his mind. What is the most important time? Who is the most important person? And what is the most important thing to do? Determined to find the answers, the king sent messengers far and wide, seeking wisdom from the most learned men in his kingdom. But the responses he received were conflicting. Some insisted that the best time for any action should be determined through astrology, while others argued that careful planning in advance was the key. Some believed the king himself was the most important person, while others claimed it was his advisors or even his subjects. As for the most important thing to do, opinions varied. Some said war, others said faith, and still others believed in the pursuit of wealth. Despite all these answers, none truly satisfied the king. He longed for clarity, for wisdom that went beyond mere opinions. So one day, he decided to seek out a reclusive sage known for his deep understanding of life. Disguising himself in simple clothes, he set off on a journey with only a few of his trusted guards. As he made his way through a dense forest, he came across a small hut where an elderly monk was tirelessly digging the soil, perhaps preparing to plant crops. The king approached and respectfully posed his three questions, but the monk without a word continued his labor. The king repeated himself, yet still, the monk remained silent, his frail hands struggling against the earth. Realizing the monk was exhausted, the king took a spade and began digging beside him. Hours passed, and yet the old man gave no reply. Just then, a man staggered toward them from the depths of the forest, clutching his side, blood seeping through his clothes. The king rushed to his aid, tending to his wounds with his own hands, tearing strips of fabric from his garments to bandage him. He gave the man water and stayed by his side until his breathing steadied. When the wounded man finally opened his eyes, tears welled up as he spoke. "Your Majesty, I am your enemy. I came here to kill you, but your guards wounded me before I could strike. I ran, but I would have died had you not saved me. Instead of seeking revenge, you showed me kindness. I owe you my life. Please forgive me." The king was astonished. Not only had he saved a life, but he had also turned an enemy into a devoted ally. Turning back to the monk, the king asked once more for his wisdom. This time the monk smiled. "Your questions have already been answered," he said. The king was puzzled. "I don't understand. Please explain." The monk continued. "Your first question was about the most important time. The answer is now. The present moment is the only time we truly have control over. When you saw me struggling, you helped me instead of waiting for a better time. That was the right time. Your second question was about the most important person. The most important person is the one who is with you at this moment, because they are the ones who need you the most. When you tended to the wounded man, he became the most important person to you in that moment. And your third question, what is the most important thing to do? The answer is to do good, because that is our purpose. You chose to help me, and then you saved a man's life. That act of kindness changed everything. It turned an enemy into a friend, and in doing so, you changed both your fate and his." At last the king understood. The most important moment is always the present, because the past is gone, and the future is uncertain. The most important person is always the one before us, because we never know when we might lose them. And the most important thing to do is always an act of kindness, because it is kindness that brings meaning to our lives. If we look at our own lives, we'll see how often we forget these simple truths. We spend so much time worrying about the past or planning for the future that we forget to truly live in the present. We neglect the people around us, our loved ones, our friends, thinking we'll have time for them later only to regret it when it's too late. And we underestimate the power of a small act of kindness, never realizing how deeply it can impact someone else's life. But if we choose to live in the moment, appreciate those around us, and always act with kindness, our lives will be richer, more meaningful, and filled with true happiness.